Welcome to the Up Podcast, raw real talk on everything young parenting.
From self-care, co-parenting, and family planning to balancing school, work, relationships, and goals.
Together, we're challenging society's assumptions and building a safe and supportive community for young parents.
One honest conversation at a time. So join us on the journey.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Yup podcast. Today we are having a holiday edition. So we're gonna have some fun today. But as always, it's Divine.
And it's Brandy. And yes, it is holiday season. If y'all remember, if y'all have been around since the beginning, last holiday season we mixed it up and we answered your burning questions. And so this year we thought it would be fun to do Mythbusters. So we are going to talk all about the holidays. We are going to kind of talk about some myths for young parenting, bust some of those, and then end with a fun little game. So let's get started. Let's talk about the holidays. So this whole holiday season, especially being young parents, and we've been in the game for at least a handful of years, so this is not our first rodeo when it comes to holidays. But how have things changed since becoming a parent? Like, how have you noticed the holidays being different now versus then?
Yeah, I mean, there's no gifts under the tree for me. No, but holidays is not all about gifts, but it definitely is a pressure and sometimes can feel like a challenge more than a joy during at least the whole entire season, because it's up to you to get all the gifts under the tree, plan the meal, be in charge of decorations, and yeah, those costly things add up and is a big part of maturing, adulting, that you don't think about when you're on the opposite end of things, being the child. So now I get crafts.
Yeah.
So that has been nice. But I think just the pressure and responsibility has really truly been the biggest difference.
Yeah. Being a young parent, and this as much as any of us know it, but when you're a young parent, it's this weird thing because either you had your child while you were still classified as a child, right? Maybe still under your parents' roof, or maybe you were slightly outside of that and still under your parents' roof. And so Christmas, there was like this smooth transition, at least for me, right? When I had my daughter, my mom was still providing gifts, for a bunch of gifts for me, a bunch of gifts for her, and then I would buy gifts for her too. And so it just felt like a very abundant Christmas for the first several years of her life. And I'll never forget, she was like, Lyric was like 8 months or something when she had her first Christmas. And for the first 2 Christmases, she had so many gifts that we had to break them up over days because she literally fell asleep in the middle of opening her gifts because it was just too much. Like, she's like, okay, I'm over it now, right? And then people would come Christmas Eve, stuff like that. So it's interesting because I didn't see a big difference immediately after having her. But again, I had moved back home. And so it was just, Christmas was kind of the same. I just got to buy gifts. And then now, only a couple of years ago, I made the decision that I'm not going to go to my parents' house for her to open her gifts. And that was a big shift because it was something that we always did, right? There's also a grieving period for my mom where she's like, I've always had my daughter here first thing in the morning to open gifts. And then I had my granddaughter here. And now neither of you are here and you're not getting here into the afternoon. But it was kind of this weird transition because I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to hurt her feelings and I didn't want anyone to feel any type of way. But I also was like, I actually don't want to gather up all of her gifts and bring them. Like, I want to start a tradition here where we open all of her gifts and then we transition over and we kind of mosey in our PJs and maybe we have breakfast. And so that was an interesting transition. But long story short, like what you're saying, Divine, it's like now the gifts are not really there. Sometimes as a family, we do I don't know, Secret Santa or something, my mom will always throw in a little something special for me, like on the sly or something, because I'm still her baby. But it is very different. But I
Yeah.
actually kind of enjoy it because I think I'm naturally a gift giver like my mom. And I always had, no matter, even though she was 15 when she had me, I never remember going without for Christmas. And so I get to do that now for my daughter too. And it's
Mhm.
stressful because it's a lot of money. But I like opening gifts in front of people has always made me very anxious because I feel like I have to like be on and have a certain reaction
Oh,
when
yeah.
I'm not super expressive like that, or maybe I just want to like, maybe somebody got me something that I'm like, okay, another notebook, yay, another. Not that notebooks are bad, but it's just like, those things where, and so
No,
having to kind of like be on, and I kind of enjoy not having that and just seeing other people light up because of the gifts that I gave them.
no, I think that's such a valid point about just kind of being on. And I will say I definitely can relate to witnessing a difference in like family dynamic, like as a child in my adolescence and like even now as a young adult, being home for the holidays wasn't always what it sought out to be. It wasn't always fun. A lot of the times my family dynamics were like walking on eggshells, like
Yeah.
waiting for the right things to say. And so that is a big difference for me too, not having to feel that weight of like performative almost, or just being on your best, your P's and Q's. And it's like, shouldn't have to do that. So to just be in a natural state with you and your child is
Yeah.
awesome.
And you
Knowing
can
that,
leave. Like,
yeah.
okay, if things are getting revved up and I'm just not feeling like, that's one thing that I realized in the last several years is that the holidays as an adult, as a child, it was all about me, right? It was about
Mm,
me. It was centered around the magic of Christmas for me and for my cousins and for my siblings or whatever. And as an adult, it's not it hadn't become about me, but I was like, why can't it be about
mm,
me equally, right? Like obviously it's not about me, but I think what I'm thinking is like I should be able to have the same experience as someone else, and I shouldn't be running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to
yeah.
make sure everybody feels seen by me during this day, like while everybody else gets to just kind of sit and chill. And
Mm,
so I realized last year actually that I want to mix it up. Like I'm just going to
mm,
make decisions for me. I'm going to go where I want to go regardless of whatever. um if it ever doesn't feel good, I will just leave. And not that it
mm,
doesn't. Like, I have a great time with both of my families. That's another thing, thinking about like when we talk about co parenting, and we can get into some of that stuff. But I have two families because my parents were not together. They were 15 when they had me and they didn't stay together. So I have always had two families for Christmas. And as an adult, it's actually gotten harder because trying to spend my whole day driving to see everybody is impossible. And so it just means like sometimes I have to make some tough decisions. Like, oh, I'm not going to be able to see you, even though you want to see me and I would love to see you. But now I'm like, I'm going to stop doing that. And actually, I started thinking like maybe next year I want to travel. Like I don't want to be with anybody, and I just kind of want to do something different and new with my daughter, and I might do that. And I think now I finally have the permission. I've given myself the permission to do that, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, kind of just tapping into co-parenting, like you experiencing that as an adult, like also like just feeling that for our children. Our both our kids have separated parents, and my child doesn't really see her other parent during holidays, but I know that may strain on her, or at least maybe not in the moment because she doesn't lack and she's having such a good time. But those moments that she's by herself, like that's always going to run through my mind. Like, is she thinking about, another experience, with someone else? And what can I do to support her in that? Because ultimately, like, they have no control over that. So it's
Yeah.
just another thing that goes into that.
Yeah. How do y'all navigate that? Because co-parenting in the holidays, I know we talked about this last year, but I think we run it back, right? How holidays are holiday season or just winter in general is so much around family and all of that. And I think one thing I noticed growing up is that my mom always made these really clear traditions for me, and we always ate certain foods, and our family makes it a certain way, and all the things. So when my daughter would go visit her other family, she would come home and be like, "Mom, they didn't make it this way," right? And so now I have to go scramble because I'm thinking like, oh, I didn't make this because she wasn't going to be here for this amount of time. And so we're scrambling like, oh gosh, okay, let me get you some mac and cheese that you actually want to eat and not with all these
Yeah.
extra ingredients, or whatever. And like those are trivial things. But then as time progressed, you're right. Like then, you know, um, she has spent most holidays just with me in the recent years. And I think I've always overcompensated to make it be like, okay, you have all this family around you, you have all this stuff. But I think, and you have all these gifts, and you have every single thing on your list, and
Mm,
it's a magical time. But there are still times when she's like sad. And
mm,
and she doesn't really say it, but I think just the idea, not even the idea of lack, but the idea of like, this is actually what, like, kind of like what I was saying earlier, right? Like, there's so much pressure to be something to everybody, right? And so,
yeah.
even if she wants to be with this family at this time, she doesn't want anybody else in her other family to feel any type of way, right? And
Mm,
so, I think that our children do feel that even if they don't
mm,
vocalize it that way. And I think it's just about teaching them you're able to set boundaries, like just like with me, if you came to me and was like, this year I want to do X, Y, and Z, then I would have to be okay with that, right? And I would just have to be like, okay, let's do this thing. But if that's not where you're at, you also have to be able to set a boundary and say, well, I actually don't feel bad because this is what I want and this is what brings me joy, and not like grappling and wrestling with it your whole holiday. um I don't have all the tools for that. Like, what do y'all think? I don't know. Leave some messages in the comments. Like, what do y'all do when maybe it's the off year, right? Maybe you have the child this year, or you don't have your child this year, or whatever, or you're kind of have split the day. How do you deal with those big emotions of your children either not wanting to leave you or wanting to be with you, but not wanting to hurt their other parents, their other family's feelings, you know?
yes, please do leave all the advice. I need it. I don't I don't have any knowledge on really what to do other than my experience, and that is kind of limited in the holiday realm. And
Yeah.
I feel like, what about those broken promises, those gifts that them kids never get?
Yeah, that's hard.
That is so hard. Or, oh, I got you a gift, but you have to come here to get it.
Yeah, that's hard. And
Hmm.
I think again, we're talking about co-parenting. There's this person, these people that I follow, and they have it down pat. Like they communicate so well. And I think that if I could give any nugget of anything, I think co-parenting doesn't have to be negative, especially not around the holidays, if everybody just puts the child first, right? And allows the child to have autonomy. Because if the child doesn't have autonomy over what they do and what they say and all of the things, then they grow up to be adults that feel conflicted to do the things that they want to do, even if they pay their own bills and live their own lives, right? But I think one thing that this particular set of parents does well is that they compromise. And
Mm,
like, maybe, you know, we have a set schedule, but maybe something came up and my family is in town now and we're doing this special thing, and they compromise on, okay, well, then let's swap our days then, right? And they communicate, and even when they're angry, they communicate. So I think communication is really important because our kids deserve it. And if communication is not there, and if it's something that you just don't have, right? If you're just truly a single mother, a single father, or whatever it is, um, just giving your best. But I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to overcompensate. And I think I've done that for so many years, and I still do it. But I realize that I'm depleting myself to try and
mm,
like get all of these things when it's just material things. And I think even around the holidays, like not putting so much emphasis on what the family dynamics are or what the financial situation is, because the holidays, and I mean, we were talking about co-parenting, but I want to even bring it broader, right? Like being a young parent, whether you're married or you're in a relationship or you're, together, there may be times when you're like, I just can't afford all of these gifts. I can't afford to get a tree or to do, whatever you celebrate. Like I can't afford the big meal for the family, or I'm away from my family and it's just us. Like just not putting too much pressure on it, because the kids remember the little things. Like I doubt my child remembers the toy I got her when she was 5, but I think she does remember making cookies. Like we had this, this whatever, making cookies in my mom's living room or in our whatever. And I think that that's important. So I would say I would challenge us to stray away from the idea of lack or the idea of needing to fulfill or even being worried about like what our circumstance is, whether it be family or financial or whatever. And just be together, like make memories and don't put
Yeah.
too much pressure on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's easier said than done. But like Brandy said, just being present so that you can enjoy the moment instead of, just living in your thoughts, because that is not fun. And your kids will rub off on that, most
Yeah,
definitely.
for
Yeah.
sure.
But I think it's time to jump
Yeah,
into some Mythbusters. What do you think?
let's do it.
All right, I will start with the first one. So, our first myth is if you're a young parent, you must be struggling. So, holidays must be stressful and sad. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I,
Uh,
yeah, that's not true. That's not, I won't say that that's not true for everybody, but that's not specific to young parents. That's just in life. Some people may struggle and holidays may be stressful, but that's not attributed to young parenting. So I would say busted. Um, I mean, the struggle is real. Like we, but we do the best that we can. And I truly think that actually young parents, because we already know the things that are stacked up or what people say or what society says, we actually work 10 times harder to make sure that things get done and that our kids don't feel lack. And that's what I'm saying about that.
Absolutely. I feel like challenges can be flipped into traditions very easily. And the struggle is real, is hard, but that is why we self care 10 times harder. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next myth. Young parents don't know how to handle family drama during the holidays.
Okay. The second I got my license, I was out. Okay. You don't got to keep me nowhere. Okay. And I'll pay. You can't take my phone no more. Pay my phone
Right.
bill. You
Mm-hmm.
can't take. And no is no. I feel like I was super rebellious and super like smart mouth. I always wanted to say something back, but I always had to have limits or a lot of moments of biting my tongue. Now I don't got no rap. You're gonna hear how I feel because you're not paying my bills. You're not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. I say no more than I ever have. So
Yep.
definitely think that is busted. I'm big on leaving, big on walking away.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can't respect me and my boundaries, how do you expect to have a relationship with the child that I birthed?
Yeah. I think the idea around this one is more so even when you're young, like we were talking about earlier, you're still living in your parents' house. You still have to live by their rules. Even if you're 20, 21, 22, you're still living by their rules, right? And so sometimes when there's family drama, we may feel like we can't interject
Oh
or we
yeah.
can't have a seat at the table to have the conversation. But I think that it comes with confidence as you
Mm,
start to realize, like when you let go of the shame and the stigma and all the things that are told to you by outsiders, that you are not old enough, you're not wise enough, you're not mature enough, whatever it is, when you start to like separate yourself from that narrative, then you start to feel more confident in your abilities to set boundaries, to just leave, to whatever. Because I will say, even at my big age, there are several times when even now I'm like weighing the pros and cons. Am I going to say this
Mhm.
to this person? Because what's the consequence going to be? And then I have to tell myself, like, actually, who cares, because I pay my own bills and I'm just going to go home and I'm going to set this boundary, right? So I think that myth is definitely busted.
Busted. Okay. So this one is a very interesting one. And if you knew my life as is, you already know this is busted. So, myth, your life is now over that you've had a kid.
Eh.
Mm. two thumbs down, okay?
No.
Mommy be outside.
Yeah. No. Your life, I think that people always say your life is ruined, your life's going to be over. And I would say your life actually begins in some ways, because being a parent, you this whole new life starts to begin, and you are open to all these new things and you're doing all these new things. I mean, if that were true, then I wouldn't be alive. My child wouldn't be alive, because my mom's life at 15 would have been over, and then my life at 20 would have been over, and then we're we're not thriving, and we're not even here talking to you today. So for sure, busted.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anything, our children's give us motivation. I don't know how serious I would have took school or my life as a whole if it was not for my child. So,
Yeah. There's
um,
actually there's another myth that's not here on our list, but there's another myth that says young parents don't take school or career education seriously or something like that. And it comes exactly to what you're saying, Divine, because the reality is actually young parents are more motivated to, like, studies have shown, and you can see on Yep a lot, that actually the young parent videos and things that you see on there, they're finding careers, they're talking about financial goals, they're setting huge goals. I would have never thought about setting goals if I didn't have a child. Same thing, like in college, I mean, I had her in college and I, whatever, but I definitely went from barely going to class to being on the dean's list after having her. And there was no surprise there, but it was like, no, I have to do it. I have to get on a schedule. I have to show her what it looks like to be a scholar, what it looks like to be successful, and all the things. So I would say, if anything, young parents actually push harder towards success than opposite.
and let them know your mama is a doctor
Right. A whole doctor
with her
with her
own.
own practice, like her own
Okay.
business. So, I mean, from 15 to where she is now, I'd say that's definitely debunked. Okay. The next one is young parents can't be successful, they're irresponsible, and they're unfit.
Definitely a big earn. I feel like as a young parent, we naturally have to grow up faster than the traditional adolescent. So, if anything, we have a different commitment to this lifestyle of, hard work and dedication. So, and like we kind of just said, there's so many living testimonies of the success. So, unfit and irresponsible. How?
Right. Right. Because how many, I mean, you all met, I love this example. You all met, a young parent a couple of episodes ago, a couple months ago, Leandra, actually, and I always share her story, right? Because she talks about after graduating high school, she started a business and opened a salon and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, what regular adult does that right after high school, right? But the idea to be a young parent and to be able to start a business and to be able to, like, get yourself from point A to point B. Same thing with all of us when we talk about moving out, paying our own bills, things like that. There are 30, 40-year-old men and women still living off of their parents and all the things. So define unfit. I will tell you that
Yeah.
most, you think that most cases of, like, neglect or whatever are happening among young people, and that's actually false. And so I would say debunked, busted, like unfit. Ew.
Right. Ooh, because if you could see, like Brandy said, not relatable. But moving on. The next myth. Okay. So if you're a young parent, you must regret having your child. Definitely debunked. My baby
Debunked.
girl is like everything I've wanted to ever be and more. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that for her. She's
Mm-hmm.
such a star and she knows it. And so I love to see like all the like positive things that I've instilled in her just shine through and just her naturally discover who she is. I love it now. That mouth.
Is yours.
Yeah, if anything, I regret showing her some things of myself. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely don't regret her. She keeps me grounded, humble. She literally gives me that, like no choice but to do the right thing. And we need that. Like I needed that in
Yeah.
my life. So my baby definitely is my rider. Definitely
Same.
debunked.
Yeah, I definitely could not imagine my life without my child. And most young parents would say a lot, again, back to Yup, a lot on Yup, but most young parents would say that their children are the best things that ever happened to them, actually. They either help them clean up parts of their lives that they needed to clean up, or they help them,
Clean up the house.
clean. Right, they help them set boundaries, they help them make better choices, they help them do better in school, they help, like, being a parent actually enhanced their life more than it did take away from their life. And most young parents would say that. There's this whole young parent community on social media that you see, and they are just living their day to day, and there's nothing about their life that is, you know, even the ones that are real about the day to day, like nothing about that speaks regret. So we definitely do not regret our children. Some people may, but some old people may, and that's on them. They need therapy. But most of us love our babies. Okay, the next one is young parents don't know what they're doing. Their children will automatically struggle and fail. Busted.
Definitely busted. Now, the first sentence, half the time, I may not know what I'm doing, but I always end up on top, and my my baby will end up right on top
Right.
next to me. And statistically speaking, a lot of young parents are very successful now, given more resources, more tools, and more support, because that's really what it comes down to. Your village and just doing what you need to do. So a lot of people be like, "Oh, Divine always does what she wants." No, Divine does what she has to do for
Mm-hmm.
her and her baby. So, and as a young parent, you don't have a choice but to do that. So, with that being said, we will always be successful in
Yeah.
life.
But, like, who knows what they're doing in every stage of their life, parent or not? Who
Yeah,
knows, like, okay, next step in my life is this? Nobody knows. Everybody's learning as
yeah,
they go. I know I've said this on multiple occasions, but there are parents who are my mom's age or older, who are kids of the same age, and they ask me for advice. They ask me how I do X, Y, and Z. They ask me how I whatever. So if we don't know what we're doing, neither do they, right? And so none of us really know what we're doing. But when it comes to success, it's that's a weird thought. I think that comes down to, like, I don't know, this idea that we are
yeah. Because what
irresponsible
is
or we're
success?
unfit. Right. But I mean, again, like we talked about earlier, my mom was a 15-year-old mom, and she is successful. One thing is that, like, young parents don't necessarily, we're very conscious not to show our kids struggle, right?
Mm,
We expose our kids to what they need to be exposed to. But I know that my mom struggled. I never saw it, ever. I
mm.
know that I have struggled. My child has never seen it. So the idea that they're going to automatically struggle is false, because they don't even know what that means to struggle, right? They're just living their best lives.
Yeah, and who gets to define success? If my child loves me, I'm successful because
Right.
at the end of the day, a degree in school don't always mean you're successful. There's people who don't
Exactly.
have the opportunity, and that does not strip them from the goals that they have for themselves. We're
Right.
so big on goals at Yup, whatever that may be, education or not, and whatever you're working towards or have, in your heart, like it is achievable, capable, and you will get there. So
Yeah.
that you can only define success for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Having a co-parenting relationship, success. Having a relationship with your partner, success. Having a relationship with your child, success.
Yeah.
Feeding your child that day, success. Right?
No matter if it's a cup of noodles
Success.
or some air fryer dino nuggets. Okay.
Right. Success. Like you're absolutely right. I think that there's so much richness in heart and
Yeah.
love and family and community. So if you provide that for your child, no matter what it looks like, whether you went to college, you didn't go to college, whether you have a job or you're a stay-at-home parent, whether you have a car or you don't have a car, those things, material things really don't matter at the end of the day.
Not that success is so easy, but there's so many opportunities in this world, 2025 going into 2026. Like, you don't need an education, like we said, to be successful. You don't need an education to have the business to achieve the goal. So, yeah. This one, I've heard this one before, and it makes me gag. Okay, myth number, I don't know what. You only had your baby to trap that man or woman and for attention. Tomato, tomato, boo.
I mean, you must have though. You must have because somehow that worked, right?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, right? There are certainly people who have children who are in a relationship, or maybe their relationship is not working out, and they have children thinking that it's going to somehow mend the relationship. I'm not going to say that that does not happen, right? But I think to
Yeah.
make a blanket statement that because you had a child, that was your goal is
Yeah.
bizarre. A lot of times there are a number of different reasons why people have while young people or why people have children, whether they're unplanned or they're planned, right? I think first I want to say that there are young people who plan pregnancies. It's
Yeah.
planned, it's something that whether the relationship works out or not, it's something that's planned, it's something that they, were expecting to happen, and that should be honored and respected. And then on the other hand, there are a group of people who it's unplanned. And for both of us, that was unplanned, right? We had unplanned pregnancies. However, there are a number of different reasons that that happens, right? And so there's not one reason. I would say there's a lack of like comprehensive education, even just around our bodies, right? Like how many people know what ovulation is and what this and what that? Like, yes, you condoms are thrown at you, but you don't necessarily know like what next. Maybe you don't know where to go to get birth control. Maybe you're a teenager and you can't talk to your parents and you can't ask for that help. And so what do you do? But you know that you're sexually active or whatever. And so to blanket it and to make it seem like all pregnancy is based off of another person is bizarre because there's a lot of different reasons why pregnancy occurs. And we have a lot of resources on Yup to help kind of shed light on some of those things. But ultimately, I don't know.
It's just
It's just weird.
straight up ignorant.
It's ignorant.
Yeah.
And for attention, like what kind of attention? Because I think a lot of times it's negative attention. Why would anybody want that? And
Yeah.
if it is positive attention, you go through 9, 10 months of pregnancy and push a baby out or get your stomach cut all the way open for
Yeah.
attention. That's I don't think that that really happens, right?
Yeah. It's been
Maybe
like
sometimes, but
a
definitely
life and death situation.
that, that's
Literally.
wild. That's a lot to go through just for a second of, oh, that's a cute baby. Because that same
Mhm.
attention that you're saying that we had children for also fades away quickly. So again, there may be outliers. I'm not saying it's negative or bad if you have a baby for to sustain a relationship. That's your business. If you do it for attention, that's your business. I'm just saying that is not the vast majority.
It's not universal.
No. Okay, the next one is you can't have fun anymore once you're pregnant. Divine, you are the definition of you
Once
can't
I'm
have fun
pregnant or once I'm a parent? Because, well, both.
once you're a parent. Yeah, when you become pregnant, once you're a parent, whatever.
Listen, both me and my baby's passport is stamped up. Okay. One thing about it, I'm gonna go on a trip. I'm gonna have me a good time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when in college, going to like an untraditional college with my baby as my roommate, my baby been to some college parties. Okay, she's been having a time since she popped out. Okay, no, but seriously, life is not over. Who says you can't have fun? Whether it be adults fun or fun with your kids. I have fun with my daughter all the time. Um, so yeah, like who said? I be having too much fun. If I'm being real, I be having too much fun.
You have fun for both of us. I mean, define fun. I think it's fun to do things with my kid. I always have. I don't know. My fun may not look the same, but yeah, maybe it's a little more challenging, right? We were just talking about this earlier. What if you don't have a babysitter? Like, yeah, maybe it's more challenging if you don't have a babysitter or whatever. But I don't know. For the most part, you do, or you just change
Bring
what fun looks like, right? If I'm going on a trip, actually, it's actually more. I didn't realize until a few months ago. A few months ago was the first time in my life that I've ever gone on a trip by myself, whether it be a work trip or personal
mm,
trip or whatever, because I've always either gone as a child with my parents or I've gone with my daughter. And it was
mm,
so weird because I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do with my hands?
mm.
What, like, what do I do? You know? And I was kind of nervous and kind of sad. Like, no, this is something that we do together. Like, I don't know. I love traveling with my daughter. I love doing stuff with her.
Yeah, it's something about giving them that experience.
Yeah.
Like it's a new part of living a new part of the world, where whether it be traveling up the street to a
Yeah.
new park or
Right.
wherever. It's just something about seeing your kid's face light up and knowing you're responsible for that,
Yeah.
whatever that fun or whatever that trip or activity looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Righty. So the baby's grandparents are the real parents. I've heard that one a lot.
A lot.
A lot of my parents' friends say that.
A lot. My mom just told me actually last night that, and not in this regard and not negatively, but she, because my mom is very young and she looks very young, this person thought that my daughter was her daughter and that she just had two children with a big age gap.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a few years ago that would have triggered me, but it didn't, because I was just like, well, I could kind of see that because she's with you or whatever. But I will say that this is something that is drilled into young parents so much, like on a serious note, that it's actually very problematic, because even in the household, I remember having to say, like, you are not the parent, like having to
Mm-hmm.
set boundaries with grandparents is very challenging, because
Yeah.
maybe you're in their home or maybe they, whatever. And so even something that could be provided as help, like my mom helped so much. She was like, come back home. I was paying for an apartment and also living at home, because she was like, come back home, let me help you. And some things, because somebody put this out into the universe, her helping me, in my mind translated into her trying to overstep in her parenting, even though it was little things. She still jokes to this day that I had a fit because she took my daughter outside to touch grass and I wasn't there. And that sounds so silly, but at the time, I think in my head it translated to like, you're trying to take over the parenting milestone. She touched grass for the first time, and that should have been with me, and you're not her parent, right? Which is so crazy and ridiculous now that I think about it. But I was fighting against this
Yeah.
narrative that like, you're not good enough, you're not a parent, like your parents are better, whatever. And that's wild. And it took away from some of the experiences that I think we could have had. And even the experiences that my daughter and my mom are like besties now. They're so close. They talk to each other outside, but it wasn't always like that. Their relationship, they've always been close, but their relationship wasn't as close as it could have been because I always felt like you don't ask for help. I never asked for babysitters. I never went anywhere, right? Because it was like, no, that means that you're not, you made your bed, you now you need to lay in it. You don't get to do those things. And so, but that also then robbed my mom of an experience of, as a grandparent, because I was trying so hard to like prove that I could do it all. She never, like, Lyric barely ever spent the night anywhere. She barely, like anything. Cause I'm like, no, I got it. I'm gonna pick her up before bedtime or whatever. So that could be very problematic.
It is very problematic. I mean, I feel so many different things with that. I feel like growing up hearing that, like you said, it is more triggersome when you're kind of living in it and battling that authority figure and identity as a parent, especially being a teen parent, like being in school and working as a teenager. My mom was the one feeding her. My mom was the one changing diapers and watching her while I would go to school until she went to daycare, obviously. But then I remember one time seeing a text message in my mom's phone on her friend, like, oh, yeah, that's your baby. And like, oh, it set me off. And I think it did set a divide between me and my mom. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes it bothers me now. It doesn't as much. Like, there's times where I'm like, oh, please take her.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm over here, I don't want to be in control, because if I say something, I'm either going to battle with you, the grandparent,
Mm-hmm.
or my child just may not respect it because the environment we're in. And that, I think, is when it bothers me, because then I feel like, okay, I'm here, but now I just be like, you know what? Let me take a break. You wanna tap in, by all means, tap
Yeah.
me out. But I think it too can be triggering for the child. She's definitely heard things like at school, like, "Oh, is that your sister?" And I'd be so quick to shut that down, because she
Mm-hmm.
might be fly to say something to me
Mm-hmm.
to get spun around. Um, so yeah, that's a big one to swallow. But them babies are ours at
Yes.
the end of the day.
We pay
So
their
yeah.
bills. We raise them. We put the band-aid on the boo-boo. We do. And I was actually just talking to my mom about this last night too, because we were talking about other children and how children know the difference between their mom and their dad, right? And they know
Mhm.
what they can get away with mom, and sometimes what they can't get away with dad are just as different. And I was like, there are things that nobody sees between my child and I
Mhm.
that is just so completely different. She would never, some of the behaviors, right? She would never behave that way with you or with anybody else. But then also some of the like snuggles or some of the just really sweet moments are reserved for me. She doesn't, and not reserved for me like in a vain way, but I'm just saying like those are things that only I can tick that
Provide.
box for her. And that
Mhm.
when she's feeling a certain way, only I can, like, I'm the one that she comes to. And I think it's just they're a reminder that, I don't know, we are their parents. We stand in the gap. We are the ones, day to day. And so I always remember that. But we finish this up with one last one. And I think this is a big one as well, because we're battling not only a myth and not only an assumption, but also statistics, right? And the statistics say, or the science says, that being a young parent means repeating cycles, right? It means somehow that if you're a young parent, you're X amount times more likely to have a child who's a young parent or a teen parent. And then there are all these outcomes, that negative outcomes that come along with that. And I just think that that definitely is busted too. I mean, I can't necessarily totally say that it's busted in all regards, because obviously my mom was a young parent and then I was a young parent. But I will say I was a couple years older than she was. And my child is not child is not currently, right. She's a teenager. And this weekend she told me, I said she was in health class talking about something about being a teen parent. I said, okay, you can't, I mean, I can't stop you from living your life, right? I can give you education, I can give you whatever, and hope that you always make informed decisions for yourself. And she was like, I'm not you or my Mimi, my grandma.
Okay.
She's like, I'm not having no baby in high school or college. And I was like, go off, sis. So,
Okay.
although we haven't busted that myth in our family quite yet, I would say it's not across the board. And I would say just don't get discouraged by that.
Yeah, it is something that can definitely be a mind-boggling thing to sit with, especially like for me, I don't have anyone in my immediate family that is a young parent, so for me, I felt like I was the one creating,
Mm.
this cycle. But like Brandy said, that doesn't always is the case. My daughter is so quick to humble me. She will let me know. She would never she would never do the things that I've done. She would never be with these kind of people. So yeah, your kids will humble you. So don't
Yeah.
let that don't let that myth fool you.
No. And even if it does mean repeating cycles, it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, right? Cycles are not always negative. It can always be a positive spin. Like I said, like we said, we define our own success. And I would say, even though I guess technically I repeated a cycle, my mom is living in her success and her joy and her best life, and I am living in my joy and my success and my best life, and my child is well adjusted and thriving. And so I don't know. I mean, yeah, like my grandma was a teen mom, her grandma probably was too, but like again, we're all thriving, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't have to be that. But let's switch gears, because now that we've kind of got a little bit deep, a little bit heavy, a little bit in our feelings, let's do a rapid fire holiday edition, this or that. Okay, starting with real tree or fake tree. Ready, go.
Fake. Oh, one, two,
Okay,
three.
I say fake too, but I kind of want a real tree this year.
I do too, but maybe not this year.
Ooh, I don't know,
I
they're
don't
really
know.
expensive.
Something about them bugs.
True.
I'm already in the south with the bugs. Something about
Fake.
them bugs.
Fake. Okay.
Maybe when I get a house and I'm settled. But
Yeah.
anyways. Okay, next. Ooh, cook or order food.
Cook.
Cook.
I
Cook.
don't
We're
trust it.
going. Well, I definitely don't trust ordering food, but I'm usually not the holiday cooker. I'm a
No.
eater.
Yeah.
My family is the one cooking.
Yeah.
But this year we may have to start a new tradition.
Okay.
So yeah,
I mean,
we're
but
about
your
that.
family, like we cook it the way we want. There's certain things that I
Yeah,
bring. I don't cook it
recipes.
all, but there's certain I don't cook everything, but there's certain things that I bring, and there's certain things that like my mom can only make it this way,
Mm-hmm.
because if I have it over here this way, they might add extra stuff. I'm not even gonna say what I'm trying to say because it might offend somebody, but cook.
Yeah.
Okay, holiday movies or holiday music or songs?
Uh,
I'm gonna
I'm
say
a
movies.
Yeah, I'm a movie, but I do like, like the R&B holiday mixes. But I'm a big movie binger. So
Yeah.
definitely me and my baby love the movies.
I feel like the movies don't get old, but they also come out with new movies every year. Whereas we are
Mm-hmm.
still listening to the same
Yeah, it
song.
gets to a
Somebody
point.
needs to freshen it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Elf on the Shelf. Creepy or are you participating?
I mean, we do it. Like Lil Elfie, that was stressful because sometimes I just had to wake up and in my
Just
sleep, like
start
when my daughter was sleeping with me, I'd be like, wake up in my sleep, dang it, I didn't move that elf, and just throw it across the room, right? It's in a
it.
different spot. Um, but she loves her little Elfie. We
Yeah.
didn't follow all the rules, but
Oh, there's rules?
there's rules like you can't touch the elf. My child touched the elf. We didn't know, and she freaked a lot of kids out because she was holding her elf when she
Mm.
went to like breakfast with Santa with my mom. Um, but we did it. We don't do it anymore. She's grown out. She knows the truth. But somehow she still looks for Elfie to appear. Elfie doesn't have to move anymore. In fact, my daughter now moves
Mm,
herself,
okay.
but it's cute. And it keeps them on their P's and Q's.
Yes, yes, we do Elfie for sure. It gets tiring every single day. I might not bring it out December 1st. It might be it just might be there 2 weeks before Christmas. But yeah, I think it's super fun. It definitely keeps their kids on their toes. My daughter's favorite elf one was I put on YouTube the cracked TV screen. Oh, she was and then to see like me act crazy about it, she liked
Uh-huh.
that.
Yep. Okay, next one. Wrap gifts or gift bags?
I wrap gifts, but I hate it. I'm not good at it. But
Yeah,
I
wrap
prefer
gifts
to
for
wrap.
sure. It's funner to open.
It's an experience, yeah.
Yeah.
My wrapping skills are trash though. So much tape and a lot of whatever.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, next one. Holiday shopping, early bird or last minute? I'm always last minute. I might get a few things here or there if I'm already out, but I'm pretty much a last minute person.
I mean, I'm like define last minute because I am gathering things in carts early. Like anytime she says something that she wants something, I'm kind of gathering it in the cart, or sometimes I maybe have it like stashed away in a secret place.
Hmm.
That's pretty rare. So I would say I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I don't know, not really that early, but definitely my stepdad, every single year, which this would drive me nuts, he goes out Christmas Eve, spends all of
Mm,
Christmas Eve getting gifts for us.
that's so
Every
stressful.
single year. That is his jam. You will not see him
Yeah,
until night Christmas Eve because he is out in the stores. And so
that,
I that
mm,
could never be me because I like to see the presents under the tree and all this stuff, but
yeah,
it's probably only going to be a couple weeks before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to get better.
Yeah. Okay. Um Now this is not a this or that, but do y'all keep all the art projects or the homemade projects, homemade gifts that your children give you? Be honest. This is a
No,
safe space.
no, I keep the ones that I like that that are meaningful to me. But if it's a little scribble,
Mm-hmm.
gotta go. It's taking up too much space. And my favorite thing too is to give it away.
Mm.
I'll wrap that stuff up, give it to my mom, wrap a whole nother pile up, give it to my dad. Look, you want to send your dad a letter? Wrap this whole thing up, send it here, send it there, send it there, but it can't stay here.
See, I keep it all. I might be a hoarder.
Oh
Even
wow,
to this day, my child makes me things, and they're so she like gets on Pinterest and stuff, and it's so creative. So I had a
cute.
shelf in my old house with all her stuff that she made me, and then I don't really have space in my new house, so I have a bin full of all of the stuff she's made.
Okay, kind of piggybacking. So, do you keep all the things that they bring home from school then? Like
Yes, I have
chocolate sheets,
bins in
homework
storage,
sheets. Oh
thick
my
bins
gosh,
from
I do.
preschool. Every single, I think I went through it at some point and took out the like just one scribble, but I
Mm-hmm.
have two big bins full of stuff because in my brain, I think I'm going to at some point maybe take pictures and make a digital album.
Okay.
I don't know, but I have it
Hmm.
all.
Please keep me up to date. We definitely have lots of like old school things, but those little like class sheets, you gotta let them go. I'll keep like the test, quiz, but
Okay,
them.
I'm not keeping that stuff. I'm keeping more like projects, paintings,
Okay. I was talking about
colorings.
like the homework, the
I think there's
workbook.
probably some homework in there, but truthfully, Lyric goes to a school that they never really gave them homework and they never really had stuff like that, right? So it's mostly project based. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense. I would keep that.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We have one
All right.
last
So,
question.
yes, our last one. Your favorite and least favorite part of the holidays? Um, we can start with our favorites because I'm still thinking of my least. I would say my favorite is having time off. I love to travel, and it's obviously harder to do during school year.
Mhm.
So whether that be traveling or just enjoying our bed or couch for a
Mhm.
long period of time, I'm here for it.
Yeah. I
Here
think
for it.
my favorite is like just the time of year in general. Like the weather is chilly.
Mm,
I think the expectation,
mhm,
it's just the mood is like slower. School's
mhm.
not in, schedules are a little bit slower, time off of work. So I think that it's a little bit slower and it's about like community and family. And it's just like a cozy time. And everybody is pretty, for the most part, like happy. And I think it just brings like joy. I think my least favorite point I can kick off is sometimes that internal battle of like, where are we going to be? And I think the pressure of the day needing to be a certain way. And sometimes I
Yeah,
sit at Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, and I'm like, this actually isn't like what I envisioned for the day. And I think then it like taints the whole holiday for me versus just being happy to be there. So sometimes
yeah.
it's challenging.
Yeah, I would agree. I think just the thought of, I mean, there I didn't do enough, or was this enough for her? Like, is she satisfied? Is she happy? Like, did I, check this off the list for her?
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say I agree.
I love it. Well, happy holidays, y'all. Thank you for riding this ride with us for another year. We're not at the end of the year yet, and we still have more content to come, but just thank you for riding with us for this long. Um, and we love to hear your holiday stories. We want to hear, like, I don't know, I would love to hear like holiday horror stories. That would be kind of fun. But then also like the successes and the wins and the fun stuff. What are y'all getting your kids for the holidays? What holidays do you celebrate? Do you not celebrate holidays? What's on the menu? Like keep
Yeah,
us in the loop because I don't know. I'm a little bit
yeah,
nosy. Like I like to know what other people are doing.
yeah. What do you do when your kids open their gift and they're looking like, "Where's the next one?" And that's the last one under the
Just
tree.
plowing through and not even fully. You're so excited about this thing, and they just plowed through to the side. Next one.
Next. No, and then as they get older, their gifts are like more expensive and less. So then it might be like less gifts, and you're like, I know they're not asking
Yeah,
for the
that's a great
gift.
question. How many gifts is enough gifts?
Yeah. What is a reasonable amount?
Let us
And
know.
does it differ per age?
Hmm.
But yes, guys, let us know your hot takes. Let us know what you think about these myths. Have you heard of any other myths? What do you think about this myth buster theme? I'm sure we'll have another episode like this in the near future. So yeah, comment below. Let us know what you think.
Thanks,
Until next
y'all.
time.
Bye.
If you enjoyed the Up podcast, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment.
And visit youngunitedparents.org for the information, community, and resources young moms and dads need to thrive.